got a couple of questions to ask, and then we're going to get you to get into small teams yourself and learn from each other, build new relationships about your passions for sustainable oceans. Our guests, we are Joanna Balsamo, I will introduce more in a moment, Jonathan Wright, Jeroen van der Wal, and Hugo Augusta, and we have one of our speakers is arriving, as I understand, in the next 5 to 10 minutes, Sunsao Cristal. So as I say before, I'm going to just ask a few questions to each of our speakers. I'll give them 5 minutes each, and then you'll all have an opportunity to meet each other, share your passions and interests, and then finally some time for questions at the end. Then there's going to be a formal ceremony in about 50 minutes time, which you're all going to be welcome to witness. Does that sound okay? Okay, fantastic. So first up, I'd like to introduce Joanna Balsamo. Joanna is the Executive Council for Environment and Citizen for Qashqai Municipality. She's dedicated her career to sustainability, both in government and the non-profit sector. She believes that a healthy planet sustains healthy people and economies. She's negotiated as a technical advisor for the climate and environment issues at the European Council, and at Camera Municipal to Cascais, she was responsible for measures such as pioneering nature-based solutions. Welcome, Joanna. So the first question, why is it important for Cascais to recover the marine forests?
Hello, can you hear me? Okay, I have news for you because the wind will not subside. This is Portugal, it picks up along the day, but we will manage. So thank you for having me. Hi, dear panelists, and I'm the politician here, I guess. Yes, so kelp forests, why? Because they're win-win-win. It's so obvious, it's like, why not? The difficulty for us was how to go about it, because technically it's not easy. In the coast of Cascais, that is super rugged and exposed to wave action, to get them growing. So we've experimented with a few techniques, always science-based, and now finally the pilot is off and running, and they are surviving. They've survived 2 winter storms, and we're happy. I haven't replied why, I've replied how. So why? Because once we scale this project, it's amazing. You get CO2 absorption, you get oxygen production, you get marine biodiversity everywhere, abundance. And on top of all that, I see this as a project. You know, when people say blue economy, blue investment, and then it's pretty, you don't know what goes in this big, word. And this is it. This is blue economy, this is blue investment. If you get 10 hectares of kelp forest, approximately, you can get like 250 tons of dry kelp, and you get 25 blue jobs. Does this answer your question?
This is an incredible answer. So there's a huge amount to win, and it's very exciting, and you're working out how to do it already by the pilots that you have created.
Yes, and it's science-based, and it's not the only project in Cascais, okay? So which is why we're so interested in reef, artificial reefs, because it's along the same lines, right? We start with the pilot, and the reef will come equipped with sensors that will tell us stuff about ecosystem abundance and all these key indicators in water quality and nutrient availability. And if it works, we want to scale it for exactly the same reasons. And all this goes under a big other umbrella that seems empty, but it's not empty. It's called regeneration, right? So it's not conserving and preserving is one thing, but taking it one step further is regeneration. And this is not just about the resilience of the coast, because if you have forests of kelp, it really is about physical resilience and protection of wave surges. Sorry. But it's also about social and economic resilience, and this has to be the future. We are coming out of a pandemic crisis, there's economic and social issues, and if we don't pull the green lever now to build back better, it won't happen anytime sooner.
It's very inspiring, and you have answered all your 3 questions in one go. So
I can say more in the next round.
So if people could plan some questions for Joanna, I've run out. So thank you so much. Okay. Second question, if I could introduce Jonathan Wright. Jonathan is the global managing partner of IBM Consulting for sustainability globally and business transformation. He has frequently supported the World Economic Forum and key Davos events over the years. He's a strong supporter of equality in the workplace and in society. He's a diversity champion who describes himself as fundamentally a feminist. He's worked for EY in 17 years at Accenture. He also sits on the board of trustees of my organization. So if you notice, I'm very nice to him. That's why. And no, he's a passionate person for a just and more sustainable world. Welcome, Jonathan.
Thank you.
So first question, what role can and should corporates and business play in supporting ocean health?
It's a great one, Mac, and fabulous to be here, and what an awesome setting, and thank you everyone for being here. And just following up, we've got the politician's view. I have to think about this from a corporate view and from a business view. And there's been a lot of conversation over the decades, and I think now is a time to move from conversation to action, or as Elvis Presley says, a little less conversation, a little more action. And I think we've got to really get into the action, and for me, corporates have got a huge role to play. We have spent 150 years messing up this planet. We got addicted to carbon, and we got addicted to fossil fuels, and frankly, we've got about 2.5 years to solve that. We've got 2.5 years where we've got to get to peak carbon, and then start drawing down if we stand half a chance of protecting this planet. It is possible, but it's going to involve initiatives like this to solve that problem. So I actually believe that there are many ways that corporates can help. In particular, I think they have to look at materiality and where they have a material role to play in solving their carbon and methane emissions. And when you start looking at the role of carbon sinks, then you start looking at what is being approached here. There's a lot of conversation around carbon offsetting and getting to net zero, but I believe corporates have got to get to carbon neutrality, which means their balance sheets, their corporations have actually got a carbon neutral position. And I think that will require involvements in something like the Reef Company, which will, and I actually believe that they should own reefs, to be part of their infrastructure, part of their balance sheet, part of their asset portfolio that is allowing them to offset actually within their own company, not actually having to rely on somebody else to then reach their carbon neutrality.
So your vision is that all companies should be net zero, right? Is that right? It's at some stage?
Not net zero. Net zero implies that they're offsetting to some, I think that their balance sheets need to be carbon neutral.
The balance sheets need to be carbon neutral.
They've done everything they can to get their emissions out of their core business, and where they can't get any more out, they need to then look to sinks like the Reef Company to get to that last bit. And with the 10 to 12x sequestration capability here, for me it's a natural investment onto their balance sheet to then help them get to that carbon neutrality.
Very clear. And maybe if I can ask the last two questions together.
Yeah.
So how can technology support ocean health, and why is IBM here at UN Ocean Week?
IBM's here because this is absolutely critical for our clients, for society, for us as individuals, and so we have to be here. It's what my conversations with my clients all are around this topic. But data, AI, automation, blockchain, sensors, for those that listened to Andy earlier about Mayflower, the automated vessel that has transcended the Atlantic, the technology aspect of this solution is absolutely critical. IBM is a technology company, and therefore, we see an important role to play in blockchain, which allows you to really assetize the reefs, in cloud and big data, and taking that data from the reefs and then making it open. I do believe this is all about different groups of people coming together, consortia, ecosystems, to solve the topic.
In incredibly large amounts of ways, IBM can make a difference in supporting clients to become have a zero, carbon neutral balance sheet. And so lots of reasons why you're here this week. So thank you for answering those questions. So we're doing well on time. Welcome, Asunsao. Christas, thank you for joining us. Are you happy to take some questions in a second? I was going to introduce you.
I was just checking his name so I could interact with him. I don't understand.
So,
My Jonathan.
so Asunsao is a Portuguese lawyer, professor, and politician. She was the president of the CDS, People's Party, from 2016 to 2020. She was also opposition leader councilwoman in the Lisbon City Council. From 2011 to 2015, she served as Minister of Agriculture, Sea, Environment and Territorial Planning in the government led by Pedro Passos Coelho. She is currently leader at Vera de Almeida, a leading international law firm. She likes taking on demanding challenges in life. She thinks that's why we're all here. So welcome. First question. How can the law and regulations play a role in promoting these initiatives?
Well, it's really a great pleasure to be here to hear all of what I've just heard and what we feel is that sometimes legal issues tend to be not that considered at the first stage because people think, well, the lawyers and the legals and the regulations are so boring, and that was something that we would love not to have to deal with. But the fact is that we are able or are not able to deal with complex subjects and issues and obstacles for what we need through a correct and proper legislation. So the legislation is not an end, but it's actually a tool that politics serves and public policies use to obtain the results. So if we want to promote this kind of initiatives, and I think we're all here because we feel that this is a very good looking initiative and it's something that goes into the right direction when we think about either offsetting or cutting emissions or try to do as best as we can to address the climate change issues, then we need to have the legal part to help us on that. And I would say that the best thing that we should aim is to have certainty for the investors, for the companies who need to know if I want to do this in this particular space, what do I have to do? And to make it quite clear, quite proper, and I can tell you that we have in Portugal framework law on maritime spatial planning and management. We have a decree law that develops this law. This date is from 2014 to 2015. It's working, and we have different paths, either a public initiative or a private initiative, but it's quite clear in the law what can be done. And especially in one thing, it's clear that we cannot do harm to the ocean. So if you intend to do something that you're not pretty sure if it's going to be okay or not from an environmental point of view, then under the Portuguese law, you cannot do it. Of course, we have the precautionary principle as a global principle in this area, but this is stated clearly in the Portuguese law. So look at what we have and put some pressure to what we still don't have and that we should have. And one of the things that I think it's interesting is to combine uses. Because when you have something done, newly done in the ocean, it means that possibly others will not do it. For example, typical activities, fishermen. If we have this area, and if we have to somehow design some borders of an area to promote an initiative, possibly we have to put fishermen aside. And normally that is a problem for coastal communities. How can we address this issue? Well, trying to make sure that if we reserve some space from some activities, then let's try to do and to build on that space everything that we can do and might be compatible and at the end have a win-win perspective. So this idea of compatible uses, of using the same space, and the same space of course has deepness and it's different, it's the calm water, the bottom, the surface and all that, but if we can address it globally, then we will probably meet several objectives, several goals, and at the same time do the less harm for other activities. And that is something that we can address by a legal perspective. And actually the Portuguese law really prioritizes the uses that can be combined with other uses. And I see quite a lot of potential in these reefs, because you can at the same time look at other possibilities within this same space.
Fantastic. So legislation is a very powerful tool,
Yeah.
and Portugal is having a very good experience over the last few years of what has been able to achieve through legislation.
Yes, I think so. And also we have done quite a lot, and right now there's a new law addressing that part, that is technological free zones, the so-called technological free zones, that allows in some spaces to try something new, to push with new technology and bring new solutions in a more easy way, or in an easier way of doing it, because the idea is to prove the concept, to develop an idea, see if it works or not. And that is something that we really need, because one of the problems that we see when we look at the ocean opportunities is that there's still a lot to be addressed, still a lot to be developed, and we need, and it's of course costly, it's expensive, but if we have the proper administrative conditions, and we have these areas, these sandboxes to test the technologies, then I think that will be of a great help. So imply less investment from the companies, from the technology developers, and so on and so on. So the law can help in that part as well.
That's really impressive, and it's clear that you're doing a lot of innovation and experimentation, and congratulations to you for everything you're doing. If it's okay, can I move on to
Yes.
the next speaker? Thank you. Hugo Augusto is our fourth speaker, is the CEO of Semapa Next. Semapa invests in European-based teams of founders at Series A, B stage that are building global category-leading businesses. Previously, he served as Managing Director of Textiles Lisbon. There, he invested in 20 companies in his time, helping them all succeed. He also co-founded My Child, a company that helps early education centers to send paperless daily reports to parents. So welcome, Hugo. First question, what is Semapa Next's investment strategy for climate change, climate tech, and how important is ocean sustainability in your strategy?
Thank you. And thank you, everyone. Thank you for the invitation to be here today. Like you mentioned in your introduction, Semapa Next as a strategy, we invest in companies that are at Series A, Series B stage, which means that they already proved that they have a product. They already proved that that product is being used by clients or users. And usually we attempt to invest between 3 to 5 million euros in each investment that we do, and we invest 20 million euros per year. And Semapa Next, although we are European focused, we are a new brand that is now being launched in Portugal, and so Portugal is our playground, it is our main focus. And if you look in one of the main assets of Portugal is its ocean, right? So climate tech, it's important just because it's where the opportunities are, where we have some of the biggest problems in our world are related with climate tech and decarbonization. That's where there is more willingness to pay for new products at these moments. And then within climate tech, if you look into the ocean, which there are trillions of dollars in the ocean economy today, Portugal with its coast represents one of the biggest opportunities. And so for us, we see a huge opportunity to invest in companies that are focused in Europe, but based in Portugal, and that are helping to take more opportunities out of the ocean economy.
Thank you, Hugo. And my second question, if I may, although no one can deny the importance of investing in projects that contribute to a more sustainable ocean, the current macroeconomic environment is not friendly for investments. How can this environment impact Semapa Next investment strategy and decisions?
It's a good question, and it's something that affects everyone and all of us, both business side, investors, individuals. I would like just to give a shout out to a company, an ocean company that we invested in called Oceano Fresco, that has a maternity to produce clams that is based in Nazaré, and then they have something pretty unique, which is an open sea farm in Lagos to then scale those clams and make those really big juicy clams that we all love. And that was our first investment in what you can call the ocean economy, and it's super important. I would like to highlight that we tend to focus ocean, we tend to think about the plastic that we see and the recycling opportunities, but there is much more. There is energy, that's another thing that we talk a lot about, but it's also foods. And one of the main areas that we need to do decarbonization, it's around the way that meat is produced and finding alternative proteins. And so clams can be an alternative protein. We'll see, hopefully that's in the near future as an alternative for all of us. Going back to your question, Mac, the current environment, the macroeconomic environment is not good. We all know all the reasons, everything that's happening around the world, and what that might happen to investments in general is that I think that the first thing that the temptation is to wait and see to what's going to happen. Because there is so much uncertainty about are we going to have a recession or not, which sectors are going to be more affected, how deep are the impacts going to be across geographies. So we don't know nothing. And investments in climate tech or in ocean that tend to be many times more deep tech, so that the cycles to produce for you to see the results take more time, then might be affected at these moments, and investors might be tempted to look into more short-term results. And so I don't have any solution for it. The only thing I can say as a solution is I'm here, and I'm free to be pitched if there are any people that are looking for investment. So we'll continue to invest. But I think that it's an important moment for people that are looking for investment to be very careful with the way they manage their cash flow and expect that these next 2 years are going to be tough. And I think it's in moments like these that are important to increase the awareness for us to remember that this is a long-term problem that needs to be solved now. And so this raises awareness for us to continue to understand that the investments need to be made now. And again, feel free to pitch me.
Wonderful. Thank you, Hugo, for your initial thoughts and offers for investors to pitch to you as we go. So the last speaker today is Jeroen, and Jeroen van der Wal is the founder and CEO, or as he calls himself, Reef Chief of the Reef Company. Jeroen believes our oceans are in trouble, and he's on a mission to assemble a multitude of ocean advocates who are prepared to bring oceans back from the brink of destruction. He's also founder of Orca Nation, or Chief Orca, which offers school children and adults life-changing experiences in the ocean. He's the author of the book, We Can Turn Tides. He believes in order to care for the ocean, we have to experience it first. So welcome, Jeroen.
Thank you.
First question.
Did you record what he just said?
Yes.
Okay.
What are the major obstacles or challenges that you need to overcome in leading the Reef Company?
I think Hugo gave part of the answer. I have been active in the ocean space for about 10 years with businesses. And I think, unfortunately, many adults are using classic investment patterns to invest, to raise money, and to take decisions on investments. I think this is wrong going forward. When I look at my own children and the next generations, we need investment cycles and investment strategies that are much more focused on the long term and on the yield of the entire planet. If we don't change our focus on how we invest and how we put money into startups that are trying to impact climate change and to better the oceans, the planet, and ourselves, we are on the wrong trajectory. So my short answer would be that we have to change the way we think about investments and the priorities that we give to those investments. Yeah.
Thank you, Jerome. The Reef Company has got an exciting vision. What is your benchmark for success? What will success look for you when you look into the future?
The success would be that I will be able to sleep without having stress or nightmares about climate change, rising water levels, the depletion of food sources, and the mid and long-term future of my own children and grandchildren. The benchmark for us is that we have done some macro calculations that Jonathan is going to double check for me. And we believe that we need to build about 2,500 reefs in the size of the project that we aim for in Comporta, 50 square kilometers each. And if we get the opportunity to build these 2,500 reefs globally, we believe that we can absorb all the excess carbon that we are producing and generating based upon today's numbers, and hopefully have a shot at keeping the rising temperatures within the accepted bandwidth. So that would be the objective. Yeah.
It sounds incredibly exciting and worthy. And so I imagine lots of people here are going, how can I get involved? How can I help? Any messages you'd love to give to the group?
I think I can offer job opportunities to everybody in this room. We are a startup that is going to scale a lot. What we are looking for, and we did this on purpose, is to build partnerships with society, with governments, with multinationals, with NGOs, with charities, and with many technology companies. We are not convinced, and we do not believe that we will be able solitarily to solve this huge challenge. And that is why we are trying to build as many partnerships as we can with companies like IBM, hopefully with Semapa next, with the government of Cascais, the government of Portugal, with law firms that need to help us to work on legislation, on certification, on concessions, etc., etc. So we want to build and scale with society, and we want to build as many partnerships as possible.
Good, Jerome. Thank you. So we've had our initial inputs from our five distinguished speakers, and if it's okay, we're going to come back for final messages from the group towards the end. But what I'd love to do is, I know that there is amazing people here who've got a lot of experience and passion, and there's probably some magical connections that you can make. So my invitation to you is to go find 3 or 4 people, go grab them by the elbow. I'm going to give you 10 minutes to do this. Please trust me that this is a good idea. Go find 3 or 4 people that you don't know, grab them by the elbow, and just have a conversation about what are you most interested in, what are you most passionate about sustainable oceans. We'll have a couple of shares from you to hear if anything that you would love to share with the whole group, and then we'll come back to our speakers for final messages. Does that sound okay? Are you all up for finding 3 or 4?
Can they grab our elbows?
They, these elbows are up for sale, or I'm trying to find a better expressions. These are available as we go as well. Does that sound okay? Find 3 or 4 new people and just share for 2 minutes each. What are you most passionate, interested about sustainable oceans? We'll then hear from you, and then final messages from our speakers. Okay?
Okay.
Over to you. You have to stand up now.
So do we.
Can we take this off? Conheço muito bem, eu
Hi,
sempre
Miguel.
fez.
Miguel, hi.
Muito bem o
Fine, how are you?
Bernardo Carvalho, aliás, já levei lá os meus alunos. Eu coordeno o mestrado em Direito
Hi.
Económico do Mar.
Oh, Miguel. Okay.
Joana, tá boa?
Yeah.
It's, I have a house in Comporta since.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's.
Okay.
Consequence for the last person to sit down.
Should I go mingle? they're going to get, because if they haven't got their headphones on, they can't hear you.
Doing questions for
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hear from them now.
I'll go and get these groups.
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay, those without headphones on, can you put your headphones back on? And then you can hear what we're saying. Headphones back on. If you put your headphones back on, we're going to restart. Okay, now is the challenge for Mac is to really get us back together again. So headphones back on, and then, okay. If grab a headphone, if you want to put your headphones back on. Headphones. Sorry. All right.
Okay, have you all got your headphones on?
Headphones on.
If you see others without headphones on, can you ask them to put their headphones on?
All right.
Okay, so we've got 10 minutes left before the formal ceremony, the signing ceremony. And so the proposal is spend 4 or 5 minutes just hearing from you and then final messages from our speakers. Does that sound okay? So we'd love to hear, we've got a microphone. Anyone want to share something or that they feel very passionate to share with the whole group? I hope, here we have, you've been volunteered. Okay, we can't hear you.
Só faz favor.
Yes, we can hear you now. Yes, please. Okay, I think we're going to get another mic for you. Here we go.
Can you hear me now?
Perfect.
Great. Hi everyone, I'm Karine.
Estou a ouvir a Sonangol.
I just flew in from São Paulo this morning. We are extremely interested in bringing the Reef Company project into Brazil for obvious reasons. There's a very large coastline, there's a lot to do and very little done so far. So my question is to Jeroen, how do you see Brazil as a strategic destination for your project?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, perfect.
It almost sounds like a pre-organized question because I lived in Brazil for 10 years. The main motivation behind the Reef Company is that I believe that we are going to move in a totally new economy. The global economies have been dominated for a century by first world countries. And I think what we now need is a massive shift to show the world that all the emerging countries, where we have the vast majority of the population living, have a huge potential with the blue economy, the green economy, by giving, our next generations a complete new outlook on how we do business. I call it business to people, purpose and passion, B2P cubed, where we can show people that the ocean as an asset and as an economy has a huge potential. Brazil, I think, has a coastline of about 6,000 or 7,000 kilometers. A lot of flora and fauna. And I believe Brazil has a huge opportunity to enter this ocean economy with the engineered reef projects that we have in mind. So thank you for the question, Karin.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we've got, I think, time for one more input from the audience. Anyone want to share a perspective, a dream, something that's really important? Here we have at the back. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Perfect.
Okay. Yeah, I think we had a wonderful group of 5 people here, and we all had different skills. We have an oceanographer here. He's from Brazil, actually, and he's a reef expert. So there you go. And we have an environmental NGO who's from the Baltics, and he's looking at new blue economy opportunities in the Baltic states. And we had I don't know where she is, but we had a PR expert. Oh, there you go. So, and she's an expert in communicating. How are we going to communicate all of this? And we had a tech product person who is trying to scale up what she's doing with the Reef Company. And for myself, I provide finance. So I'm the CEO of Fund Nature, and we so we help with carbon markets and climate finance. And I've been doing this for 15 years. So it's almost as though we had a mini startup on our own. So I guess the message, look, if you have a diverse set of skills, I think we can all do this, and I think we can all scale up what you're doing. So that's all I
Fantastic.
would share.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your experience with that group. So we're down to the last 5 minutes. So it's an invitation from a call to action in under a minute from each, from our speakers. I've been asked to do it in the opposite order we started. Okay, so Jerome, you're up first. Call to action in a minute.
Yeah, so the main message I would say for everybody that is participating this whole week is that it's time to move. I think we have been hearing now for a decade about the deplorable state of affairs with regards to the oceans. I always like to think in positive ways about the opportunities that we have on this planet. And one thing that is really important also with the people, the ladies and the two Miguels that I was talking to here, is that we all need to work together, right? Somebody asked me, like, are you predominantly focusing on governments? And my answer was no, we are focusing on society. And everybody in this room, whether it is government, business, NGOs, charities, etc., has to play a role, right? We cannot do it alone. We need partnerships globally. I had some very nice conversations with two ladies that are interested in the project for South America. And we all have to look at this whole situation as a massive opportunity, right? It's an opportunity to start doing business in a different way and to create a positive outlook on what's going to happen in the next century.
Beautiful.
That's
Thank
it.
you, Jerome.
Yeah.
Hugo, if I may come to you, call to action?
Okay. Look, the wind is down, the sun is beautiful, so I don't want to ruin the afternoon for anyone, but I want to share very quickly what I heard recently. I've been in the US, and an economics professor was giving a talk about the path to a carbon neutral world. And the main message started with, if we do everything that we can now, we're going to live in a world that is worse than what it is now. And if we do half of it, the world is going to be much worse. If we do nothing, it's going to be catastrophic. But no matter what, we're going to live in a worse world than it is now. So my call to action is to use kind of the same words our friend there was saying, is we all can do something. You don't need to have a startup for an investor. You can work with a startup. You can work with a corporation that is focused on sustainability, such as IBM. You can go to the beautiful city of Cascais and help the local government there to make the city a better place. You can join a law firm. There's a lot of things that we can do using our own strengths, but we need to do them now. The timing is very important. That's my
Timing
call
is
to
key.
action.
Thank you, Hugo. Assunta, may I ask your call to action?
Go to the next one.
Okay, Jonathan, over to you. We'll come back to Assunta.
It was me with the great idea. Come to the next one, and it was me. Thanks for that. Look, I think the call to action, it clearly is going to take a village, right? But coming together with all of the ecosystems that are involved in this, there is a solution, right? There is a way forward. It takes incredible people with vision, like Jerome and the Reef Company, but then it also takes the whole ecosystem to come together to solve. I believe that corporates have got a huge role to play. Governments clearly have a role to play, but I think corporates have a huge role to play. There's very few corporates out there that don't use the ocean. You think about it. How many companies are using the ocean, whether they're in tourism, whether they're in transport, in their consumer products, they're in electronics, hardware. Most of them are using the ocean in some way. Therefore, they need to protect the ocean. Therefore, they need to give back to the ocean. They need to recognize that in terms of their business model, and that's where I said talking about a balance sheet that is actually carbon neutral. Technology is at the heart of this. It's all around data. It's all around the technologies that we use. With technology, but with the incredible skills and capability that exist in the world, we can solve this if we come together as one village with one passion.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jonathan. Asunsa.
Now I can say something. Pretty much as previous Jonathan and Hugo and Jeremy said, I believe that we have to work all together in cross-cutting solutions. This means that these different disciplines, I think be it finance or management or law or governance, need to work together. The key issue is innovation. We know that if we continue to do things business as usual, it will not work. So we need to be very proactive, claiming for new solutions. And as I may say, the legal part do play an important role. So don't think about the legal guys like the boring ones, but involve them since the very first beginning, because we really need to innovate also from the legal perspective and the legal solutions. And that can only be made if people work together since the very beginning. And that's my claim. And study law for the ones who want to study, or study ocean, which will be a new BA in Portugal coming soon.
Amazing. Thank you. And then finally, Joanne.
Yeah, so I think everybody here in this room has suffered at some point or another from catastrophic fatigue, right? And this was especially a reality, I think, about a year or two ago, climate, pandemia, etc. And I think we're all emerging from that stance. And I think we should all grab hold of this new turning point where we stop feeling fatigued about the catastrophe that might be imminent, and we feel empowered. Because we know enough, we know so much already. Before, science was hermetic and distant. Now science is well communicated. We know what to do. We know what the issues are. We know what the scenarios are. We have the tools. And like every single person here, and I only spoke with 100th, has a role. You know what it is, and you know what you have to do. So don't feel fatigued, feel empowered. This is what I have to say. And I really believe, maybe differently to the professor, that if we do our best, it will make a difference. It really will make a difference. So feel empowered, and don't forget about the role of cities. I think cities are the battleground where the battle for sustainability can be won or lost, but especially believe in your own battle here inside. Thank you.
Be empowered.
Yes.
Feeling being empowered. Wonderful. Thank you. So just just as we wrap up, first of all, I'd like to thank one of our sponsors, Ocean Beer, as well. So thank you, Ocean Beer, for sponsoring and supporting us. So just a final, before we have a signing ceremony, so in a moment I'm going to be inviting Joanne up to set the scene for the signing ceremony. But just a final thank you to Asunsa, Hugo, Jerome, Jonathan, and Joanna for your amazing speeches and inspiring us and educating us along the way. So if I could ask one more round of applause, please. And thank you all for turning up today. Really, really grateful to you all. And may I invite Joanne to take the stage?
Leaving?
I think that's us. And now's the signing ceremony. Thank you once again.